the junior market, both North America and Australia, are now discovering Guinea as a really underexplored but highly prospective gold province and a country that one can operate in.
Hello to viewers tuning into Assay TV. In this edition, we're catching up with Sanu Gold, who are developing 3 high-quality gold projects in West Africa. And I'm delighted to be speaking with Martin Pawlitschek, President, CEO, and Director of the company. Good day, Martin.
Good day, Adam, and thanks a lot for hosting me on your program today.
Yeah, you're welcome. And look, it's an exciting time to be talking about Sanu Gold's projects over in Guinea. You've got 3 high-quality gold exploration plays. Let's first focus on what it's like operating in Guinea, the mining industry over that way as well, for interested investors who perhaps aren't familiar with the jurisdiction.
Sure. I've been involved in Guinea now for almost 2 years, and I found it actually very good to operate there. And just as background, Guinea has been a major producer of very high quality bauxite for I think several decades now, probably going back to the 50s and 60s. There are still new bauxite projects in development and new mines going up. It's also well known for some of the best, highest quality and very large undeveloped iron ore resources. A couple of the majors are working on those, and I believe one of them is going ahead now. And then in the gold industry, there have been a couple of big gold mines operating in the same region that we're exploring in the Siguiri Basin. AngloGold's been there for a while at the Siguiri mine itself. It's a very large multi-million-ounce resource that's been going for well over 10 years. And then there's the Diguifara mine operated by Nord Gold. Predictive Discovery recently had a major new find, 1 million ounces. It's an Australian junior, worth looking up. The market cap tremendously increased on the back of those news. And then a Moroccan group is building another mine, a third mine, and then there's a couple of Canadian companies looking at smaller mines, reopening them. So there is a lot of international interest, and has been for a while, and personally I found it very efficient to operate there today.
Yeah, certainly. So in terms of like permitting, exploring, in terms of like labor and things like that, it's actually quite a good environment for mining projects.
Absolutely. Just on my background is mainly on the exploration front, but also I did work on several mine develops around the world.
Right.
On previous companies. And what I really like about West Africa and Guinea in particular, now once you have your exploration permits, it comes with a set of regulations that cover environment and various things as well. Then you can go and drill. You don't have to then apply for a whole set of other permits and wait 6, 9, 12 months like in many other jurisdictions before you can put your first hole down. So makes things very fast and efficient, and that's really important for a junior explorer like us, because no news is really bad. So for us to be able to get on the ground, drill and produce drill intercepts it's very valuable.
Yeah, indeed. And West Africa is certainly becoming the new hub for sort of gold discoveries and exploration success in precious metals, given perhaps the gravitas with Western Australia. But if we think about recent years, West Africa has certainly established itself as a great jurisdiction for precious metals.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree. I mean, in the neighboring countries, they've had maybe a decade or more in front of Guinea in terms of gold exploration, lots of mines being developed. And I think especially the junior market, both North America and Australia, are now discovering Guinea as a really underexplored but highly prospective gold province and a country that one can operate in.
Yeah, excellent. So you talked a little bit about your background, but could you go into a little bit more depth on the experience on the team itself and what you're bringing to this project?
Sure. Yeah, we have a very good team both in Canada, but also importantly on the ground in Guinea. We have obviously a very experienced, seasoned team there in Vancouver with Vince Sorachi, our executive chairman, and Gavin Cooper, our CFO. Lots of experience there. On the board, we also have a few people that are very experienced in West Africa. And then one of our co-founders is Fatou Gay. She's got lots of experience in West Africa and in mining finance in particular. And then on the ground there, we have Dr. Serene Jeng, very seasoned exploration geologist. He is a West African who's worked in Guinea for many years. Actually studied in Canada, has a master's and a PhD from Queen's University, so fully bilingual and well familiar with the geology in West Africa and in Guinea. And he's leading a team on the ground that's composed mainly of Guinean technicians and geologists and a few senior personnel from neighboring countries. And on the corporate, administrative, and logistics side in Guinea, we have our partner Sekou Traoré, who's a Guinean national who's actually worked in the mining sector for some time. And we have Abdurrahman Jallo, who's very seasoned actually in terms of administration and logistics. He used to work at the Siguiri mine previously. And they manage all the important things like government relations, procurement of drill rigs, shipping samples out to the labs, that sort of thing. So we have a very efficient structure there in place, and we can act quickly and efficiently. So very valuable for us.
Excellent. Yeah, certainly a very extensive team in place. Okay, well, let's turn to the projects then. And you've got 3 high-quality gold projects underway at the moment. A big drilling campaign covering something like 35,000 meters. I've been reading. Could you summarize, sorry, for the viewers, the projects, and then also talk about how you're getting into this exploration work?
Okay, sure, we'll do that. Yeah, so we have 3 very attractive exploration licenses. All 3 of them are located in the Siguiri Basin, which is the premier gold district in Guinea. It has all the current big producing mines and the new developments. We have, through our partner, secured 3 nice permits there that have extensive surface gold trends defined on them. Some of them were already somewhat defined before we earned into the projects, but we completed systematically the surface sampling across these permits. We have now a total of 16,000 termite mount samples, defining kilometer scale gold trends on all 3 of those permits. We then systematically followed them up with auger drilling. Just very briefly, without getting too technical, much of West Africa is covered with a laterite cap. It's a kind of overburden that obscures much of the bedrock geology, the geology that we really want to target. It's between 2 and maybe 10, 15 meters thick in places. You can generally pick up the gold anomalies through that with termite mount sampling, but they have a bit of a dispersion along them. And the way you then get more resolution and define your drill targets is systematic sampling of the top of the bedrock underneath the overburden. And the tool for that is a power auger. It's a small, very light truck mounted, usually on the back of a Land Cruiser mounted auger rig. You drill through the laterites and then sample the bedrock with that very systematically across your anomalous trends, lines every 400, 200 meters, along the lines 25 to 50 meters. And with that, really, you find the source of the gold in the bedrock. You can then define your gold-bearing structures. And we've done that across all 3 of our permits now. We've got close to 40,000 meters of auger drilling completed. Earlier this year, we had a rig running day and night on all 3, on each of the permits, working very hard to do that, get the targets lined up for our seed drill testing, basically, which is then typically the next stage. And we completed a program in August, September at our Daina property, and announced some pretty interesting results there. Fairly extensive fairly wide anomalies with fairly decent grades. Of course, it's early days. We're planning a follow-up round now, and that will include follow-up on our drill results that we reported down dip and immediately along strike, but also more in-depth testing of some of the other targets and further along strike of that particular trend. The trend at Daina, for example, is 4.5 kilometers long. We have some very interesting intercepts over maybe 200 meter strike length there. It's still quite open to the north and to the south, and we only have scout holes further away, 800 and 1.6 kilometers away, both north and south. So it needs more drill testing to evaluate what we've got. But so far, for the first round, I'm very, very excited about that.
Yeah,
and then of course we'll be heading out also to our property at Diguifara with a program. We have kilometer scale auger gold trends there as well, between 2 and 4 or 5 kilometers of trends defined underneath the laterite. And we're planning to have our first round of RC testing there in November, concurrently or in close sequence with further drill testing at Daina. And then out at Bantabaye, which is on the western margin of the Siguiri Basin, we have very interesting structural intersections and a lot of artisanal workings exposing very interesting styles of mineralization on very attractive structural settings. We'll be heading out there in January with a program of follow-up auger and then more extensive RC drill testing. It'll be the first round of RC testing basically at Bantabaye and also at Diguifara. And the campaign we just completed at Daina in August, September was the first ever drilling program there as well. So it's exciting stuff. So
yeah, great to be getting results off of the first campaigns in those locations as well. Could you just going back to Daina 2 in the main zone? You had obviously a more recent discovery there. Do you have any more information about the grades or sort of some of the findings, or is that sitting with the labs at the moment?
So Adam, yeah, just to give you an update of the drilling results, we've recently announced further intervals. Some of the earlier results were just under 2 grams, 1.9 grams over 37 meters. And then we had a few on another section. We had another round of assays come back at 5.5 over 11. On that same section, we had 5.48 over 15. And on the whole, further up dip, 4.75 over 21. So, the results are showing that things are hanging together. Drilling to date's been quite shallow, really less than 60, 70 meters vertically. So the structures are quite open down dip and a long strike from there. But for a first round, in my books, hanging together nicely, and there's some very high grades in there as well. So promising start.
Excellent. Okay, so in terms of like the project milestones, you mentioned obviously you're looking to do a follow-up round, and how long is there sort of time frame that investors can look out for in terms of your news flow that's going to come until the end of the year?
Okay, sure. We'll be quite busy there. Right now, our first drill campaign actually was in the wet season, and we were quite fortunate to be able to do that because the two properties, Daina and Diguifara, are very close to the bitumen road, basically, than one of the national highways. So access there is not too bad. It did get a bit heavy now towards the end of the wet season, where a lot of rain. Was a lot of rain this year. So we decided to pause the rig in October now, A, for service, and B, to let the ground dry up a little bit. So we'll be mobilizing again in November, as soon as the ground conditions are slightly better. And so that'll happen early November. So we'll be drilling, let's call it mid-November again. And from then on, we should expect more drilling news flow, probably December, right through December and January. We'll be keeping the rig busy, I think, when we start, right up to a Christmas period between Diguifara and Daina. And the results from that will flow over well into January, I think. And then in January, we'll start to work at Bantabaye. So that'll give us news flow February, mid-March. So I think between November and March, there should be lots of new results coming out.
Yeah, certainly. It's certainly very busy, but nicely balanced between all of the projects as well in terms of keeping them all moving forwards and progressing. Is a good strategy.
Exactly. Yeah. So when we finish a campaign on one property, we can move on to another one, get some work done there, and that gives time to get results back, and then we can continue with the third property or decide to go back, follow up something really exciting maybe on the other property. So we have a lot of flexibility there.
Yeah, excellent. Well, it's a very good position to be in, and exciting to hear where you're currently at the moment. Obviously, lots of work to be done, and we look forward to catching up on Assay TV about how the projects are progressing. So, Martin, thanks very much for giving us the overview and the update on Sanu Gold.
Great. Thanks a lot for your time this morning, Adam, and always a pleasure to give you an update.